Well, glory to God. Welcome once again to Power of Faith. I'm Pastor Philip Derber with your family of Faith Victory Church right here in the capital city of Frankfort, Kentucky, and just delighted to be able to share with you in the truths of God's Word once again. Luke 1:37 says, with God, nothing shall be impossible. And welcome to this special presentation. I have in the studio with me the candidate for the 57th District, Kyle Thompson. Kyle.
Pastor Philip, good to see you.
Thank you for coming out of your busy time.
No, thank you for having me. This is a real honor.
Well,
I appreciate it.
The honor's mine. And so thankful for you taking up the, shall we say, call to run for this 57th district. I've been in this city for, I'm in my fourth decade now, and the people that have supposedly represented us did not represent Christian values, family values, so on and so forth. And I've been praying for years for a representative that would have our values. And now I think after knowing you and getting to know you better, it's one thing to have a politician that is morally on the same line. It's another thing to have a Christian politician that's morally on line. So I know that your opponent and you are total opposites.
Diametrically opposed.
Right. I'm looking at this Commonwealth Policy Center evaluation, and Erica Hancock is your opponent, and just pro-life, she's not, and you are. She's endorsed by Planned Parenthood.
And I'm endorsed by Kentucky Right to Life.
Yeah. And then the Second Amendment about, school choice and so on and so forth. She wouldn't even respond to that. You're all for it. And then cut state income tax. She wouldn't respond to that, but you're all for that.
I am.
And then transgender surgeries for minors. She is for that. And, of course, you're against that. And then DEI, she is all for that, and you're not. And so those are very opposite platforms that you two carry. And as a Christian, I think this nation, this state, and this county and city is at a very tipping point.
Agreed.
And so on and so forth. And for the viewers here, let them know who you are, what you stand for, and why you're running for this 57th district.
Well, first of all, Pastor, thank you again. This has just been a great experience. Thank you for allowing me on here, as well as being on your radio program. It's been great. I will start out by saying I was born and raised in Frankfort and Franklin County. I was born to a 17-year-old teenage mother who put me up for adoption as Roe versus Wade was very chic at the time. No other real way to put that. She had the bravery and integrity to carry me to full term and place me up for adoption. I was adopted by Tom and Leslie Thompson, two of the finest human beings I've had the pleasure of not only knowing but also calling mom and dad. My father is my hero. My mom worked hard every single day when I was a kid. They both own their own business. It's where I learned to have business sense and also to have business acumen without giving up character. And I was a product of public schools. Graduated from Franklin County High School. I went to the University of Kentucky, where I got a degree in political science and with an emphasis in racial and political tolerance.
Oh boy!
I know. You think with a background like that I might have some liberal tendencies, but actually that actually solidified my conservative beliefs, I decided to go to law school. I graduated from Ohio Northern University in Ada, Ohio. If anybody's ever been up I-75 past Lima, it's 15 minutes from Lima, Ohio. Middle of a cornfield, law school cornfield. I graduated in the top quarter of my class there and was received numerous accolades in not only mock trials, but also in my research and writing. After I graduated there, I came back to Frankfurt and started a family, and I also began practicing law. I was actually in court the day that I got sworn in. That afternoon, I was already in court. It's kind of how I do things. I hit the ground running, and I love to stay busy. For the last 23 years, I have worked tirelessly to help those in the community with some of the most difficult cases. I've had cases that are dog bite cases, that very small claims type cases. And I've had cases that have been argued in front of the entire Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals that I've argued in front of. And I was sworn in to the U.S. Supreme Court by Chief Justice Roberts. So I have been blessed to have a very wide and diverse career in the law.
So why would you run for the 57th district and when you got all that going on?
Well, I tell you, I've been blessed, but I know that I've been blessed because God has blessed me. As I've said before to other people who've heard this and to you, Pastor, I'm not a perfect person, but when I was younger, my father, all my friends call him Big Tom. When I was younger, he told me that if God calls you to do something, you better be ready to go. And in my life, there have been times that I know the Lord has called me to do things, and He led me to run for the City Commission, where I was blessed for 2 terms. I promised everyone I ran that I would run for at least 2 terms, and then He called me away, and He's called me to run for this position. I feel that He has called me because I have been prepared over my entire adult life to help the citizens of not only my hometown. This is my hometown. I love this like it was my first date. I love this hometown, and I'm always going to live here. I'll live and die in this community, and I want the dash, as I call it, that time on your tombstone, the dash there.
Right.
I want the dash to be remembered that I gave everything I could to my community. And by doing this, I feel that this is not only a calling, but I feel it's my family is allowing me to sacrifice, to be able to financially, to sacrifice time-wise. And stress. There's going to be a lot of long nights. There's already been a lot of long nights as a city commissioner. But I'm prepared for that. I'm prepared for what's coming. But I also believe that this community needs someone who is steadfast in his in what he believes is right and wrong, and not to fall by the wayside, and to stand up for what's right, and to stand up for the least of us who need someone to stand up for them. And that's what I want to do, and that's what I've been doing my entire professional life and adult life. And I want to carry that to the State House. And so that's why I have decided with my wife, Jennifer, that and my 5 kids, that we are all in on this. And we're going to do everything we can to help my hometown. And this is where I have the best opportunity to do that.
Well, what do you see is in this district some of the most needful things?
Sure. Well, it's interesting because, about 18%, 17 or 18% of our population either work for state government or worked for state government. So almost a fifth of our population has some tie to state government. And that's important when you consider that in the next 2 years, we will likely have more state retirees and teachers than we have active state employees and teachers for the first time ever. That boomer generation is finally retiring. And when that happens, we're going to have a bit of a crisis, not only a workforce crisis, but we're going to have a retirement systems crisis. The retired state employees have not received a cost of living adjustment in 13 years. And yet, while their paychecks have remained the same, inflation has gone up 30%. It's my goal to immediately put statutory language in that codifies that every year they will receive a portion of increase based upon what inflation is and what is happening in the world. Our average state employee makes $32,000 or less. Our average state retiree makes $32,000 a year or less. If you haven't gotten a pay raise in 13 years,
what you gonna do with
it's
that?
going to be hard to make just your bill payments, even if you're renting, because rent has gone up and up. Our average retired teacher, makes $36,000 a year, and teachers have actually been getting a 1.5% raise. And while that takes them to about 18% over that same term, that doesn't get to the 30% that they need. So we need to honor those people who've given their entire lives to our community and fix that. It wasn't their fault. And the third part of that issue is the fact that we have firefighters, policemen, EMTs, and paramedics that are not receiving hazardous duty pay retirement any longer. That they used to have, tier 1 retirement, which allowed them to retire at 20 years. These folks give their lives, quite literally, for our community, and it's not their fault that the retirement system failed. So we have to fix that, and we have to do it in a manner that doesn't raise taxes on people. In fact, one of the things that I advocate for is to eliminate the income tax, the state income tax.
All the way across
the board. And in addition to that, I want to get rid of the inheritance tax. People say, well, where are you going to get your money from? Well, I want to use a consumption tax. And the first argument against that always is you're going to hurt the people who have the least amount of money. And that's not true, because I'm going to push to make sure that, again, food and groceries are not taxed, and they're going to remain untaxed. But I want to push for those things that are necessities, that they are untaxed as well. That goes for diapers and formula and things of that nature, so that it's not going to hurt the least of us. But those who are able to buy a third and fourth car, those who may have a rental home, those who may have a boat that they buy, those big items, well, there needs to be a higher sales tax across the board, like you see in states like Tennessee and states like Florida that have eliminated their income tax and eliminated their inheritance tax, but increased the consumption tax. Florida had the largest surplus of any state in the history of the United States last year. So clearly it's working. And so I think those are the two main issues. I want people to have more money in their pocket, and I want those who have retired to have more money in their pocket, but I also want to make sure that our schools are meeting the standards that they need.
Well, talking about the schools, you have some insight there, with how, the Kentucky Department of Education put out what our kids are doing, and it's, it's not good.
No, it is not. If you go to the Kentucky Department of Education website, if you go to the KDE website, it will show you the report cards for all of the schools, and then it'll across the state, and then it'll actually give each district as well. And on the average, the state of Kentucky is failing in every aspect. And what I mean by that is you have less than 50% of the students in the 11th grade with a proficient, that means just the ability to have average reading and writing skills. You have less than half of them in the 11th grade being able to score proficient on the state test. We're failing students in some way then. And in Franklin County, it's actually lower than that. The Franklin County School Board has over $100 million a year that they put towards education. And yet we have students that are functionally illiterate at the time that they graduate high school. How can we expect students to move on, to get good jobs, to start businesses, to bring in new revenues, and to help the community as productive citizens if we don't teach them how to be functionally literate? And I think that has to stop. We have to have higher academic standards that we reach, and not race to the bottom and lowering standards. We need to increase those.
Well, on the ballot this November is Amendment 2.
There is, yes.
Where someone is no longer, if it was to pass, trapped to a certain school district. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How does it work?
And so what will actually happen is this will allow the framework to be able to be begun, which, by the way, there's a lot of people who say, well, this is going to take schools, this is going to take money out of public schools. There's been no framework set up. They can't even get to the framework without at least having this amendment to the school choice as part of the Kentucky Constitution, as our fourth Constitution, the 1892 Constitution. And so by passing that, it allows for a family to make a decision. Do I want my child to go to a failing school? For many people, especially those in the lower economic classes, they struggle with even being able to get their child to a local school, but they definitely don't have the ability to have them go to a school that may be doing better. And that includes going from one side of Frankfort to the other, or going from a city school where they may live in the city district, or even going to a private school if they decide to do that. This isn't a situation where we're trying to make it more affordable for rich folks to go to private schools. Those people already afford private schools. This gives a choice to parents for the first time. And why?
Because they're already paying.
You're already paying your taxes. You're already paying all these other things. And the folks who are going to private school are already paying it. But these folks who would never have the opportunity to go to a good school are going to be able to have that opportunity. And in addition to that, if you're a public school, which I'm a public school kid, and all of my kids went to and graduated from public schools, and they're going to public schools. I want public schools to achieve too. That doesn't mean you have to throw more money at it. If you are a high achieving academic school, you're not going to lose students. It's just not going to happen. So if you don't want to lose students, be the best you can be and have the high academic standards, and then you won't have students looking for what is a better benefit by going to a different school. It will increase the competition among the schools to be better and better, instead of, like I said before, racing to the bottom just to meet the very bare minimum, which we're obviously not even doing in this community, because we have less than 50% of them that are able to read and write.
And schools are a big decision maker. Like if you got somebody that's been offered a job here, or wants to relocate here to central Kentucky, Frankfort by choice. Well, if you're a parent and you got 3 children or 1 children or 10 children, you want to know about the school system. What are the job's great, but what are my kids going to be subjected to?
There's a reason when you look at Zillow or any of those realtor sites, they give you the school and crime rates. But at the same time, it's not just the individual decision. It's if a company wants to come to an area, they want an area that has a good workforce, that has a skilled workforce. And they also want to go to an area that has the best schools, because they're going to bring 1,000 people in. And if they are going to have their folks that work for them, their children are going to want to go to good schools. And if the schools are not providing good education, well, they're going to go to another district where they can have that. And in Kentucky, we're blessed because we have an abundance of resources, an abundance of different locations that places can go. And people say, why aren't they settling in Franklin County? Well, I think a lot of them come and they see, well, they don't have a skilled workforce. They don't have job skills training, which is very important and something that I'm pushing. But also they don't have good, a quality educational system. And instead of just throwing money at it, figure out why the test scores are what they are and just do better. I'm a big proponent of Mark Kopp and the superintendent in the Franklin County Public Schools, and I think they've been dealt a bad hand with the state many, many times. And I think throwing more money at a situation is not the answer. Having higher standards is the answer.
Wonderful. Well, I want to shift over here. Something dear to my heart is pro-life. And, this whole abortion issue, my wife, before she accepted Jesus as her Savior, had 3 backstreet abortions before Planned Parenthood and all that. And not just the killing of the unborn, those 3 children, but what it did to her. It took the saving knowledge of Jesus to set her free. Your opponent, who has been endorsed by Planned Parenthood, and she's not pro-life, and you, again, being endorsed by Right for Life, where is your standing? Where are you? I mean, you're pro-life, okay, but what is that? That could be low level, high level.
So this is where I probably differ a lot from even as high up as the president otherwise. People say, what about exceptions? What do you mean, what about exceptions? What about incest and rape? Well, those are terrible scenarios that you would pose to someone. Rare, but terrible. In our house, we don't combat evil with evil. If something terrible and evil would happen like that, I believe that beauty comes from ashes all the time, and the Lord makes that happen.
Mm.
I don't believe that you kill innocence because of evil. Do I think that that's a horrendous situation? Do I think it's a situation that it will make someone feel great all of the time? No. Do I feel like it's forcing them to do that? No. You know, you can...
And your biological mother...
My biological mother made that decision for me. And you know in Jeremiah when it talks about, I knew you before you were in the womb. Mm-hmm. To me, what is more precious than our Creator saying, yes, I created the vast cosmos. I created the stars and the sun and the ocean and every single kind of animal. But I knew you before you were in the womb.
And you were fearfully and wonderfully made.
Fearfully and wonderfully made. And to me, there is no discussion about, well, when does life begin? God already told us.
Here it is, Kyle. They can't find a heartbeat, they pronounce you dead.
Right.
So why is it when you find a heartbeat, you're not pronounced alive?
Why do they call an amoeba on Mars life?
Yeah.
But they call a fetus, which means little human, by the way. Why do they call a fetus a clump of cells? I mean, that's life. You can call that life on another planet, but not here.
Why would they be harvesting organs
Right. Exactly.
if there's no life there?
Exactly. And I think for so long people have hung on to these what if-isms in life instead of what is-ism. And we know what is. And we know that Christ is the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father but through him. And we have to stand on that principle in everything we do. And if you truly believe that God can do anything, that if you are faced with the most insurmountable obstacle, you can move that mountain. But the easiest thing to do is not always the right thing to do.
Right.
And I think in this society, we've gotten to what is the easiest thing to do instead of what is the right thing. And I'm tired of the what-if-isms. I want people to start answering in the what is-ism. And we know what is, when God said to Moses, tell him I am.
Pregnancy alternatives.
Pregnancy alternatives. No such thing.
Deuteronomy 30:19 says, I set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life, that both you and your seed may live. And, I've seen as a pastor what abortion has done to women.
I have seen
and what it's done to the man.
Yes.
And then I've seen the ones that made the choice to go ahead and raise that child and give it up for adoption or raise the child, period.
People think that if you make that easy decision, you'll never have to think about that again. And that is the lie that the devil wants you to believe. And in fact, you live with that for the rest of your life. You're scarred for the rest of your life from that. And I think people don't see that. And I want people, when they make those decisions, to think about, what am I terminating here? Am I terminating what's best for me, or am I terminating a life?
Yeah, and we're not, as a woman, you have a right to your own body.
100%.
But we're talking about a body within your body.
Correct. Who makes the decision for the baby?
Well, we just got a few not even a few minutes. November 5th.
November the 5th. Very important. I want people to understand that this is a decision that will affect Franklin County for decades to come. And the reason that I'm asking for your vote is not so that Kyle Thompson could ascend to something, but that our community can become something that it has the potential to be. And that's why I'm asking for your vote.
Wonderful. Well, Kyle, thank you for being with us.
It's been great.
If you need prayer for any area of your life, you can call that prayer line at the bottom screen, 502-597-4357. Prayer minister standing by. And if you want to know more about Kyle Thompson, go to his website, votekylethompson.com. Right. VoteKyleThompson.com, and you can see what he believes in. We were only able to cover a few subjects here, but I believe we are at a very crossroad, a very turning point, tipping point for not only our city and county and state, but for this nation. And I believe that God is raising up voices and people of action in the day we're living in to do something productive to change the course of where we're going. The Bible says the tongue is a powerful member of the body, and it can turn the course of the direction in which we're going in. So I would encourage you, get out to vote too. And don't sit at home and act like you're not going to vote. Yeah. So our time has gotten away from us. And, Pastor Philip here and Kyle Thompson reminding you that Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 4 says, where the word of a king is, there is power. You be a blessing.